Hey guys, what's up? It's Iflin here, and today I'm going to be showing you guys gameplay from the test server. Now, if you don't know what the test server is, basically DE have went out of their way to set up a test server. They've invited all of the Warframe partners who were active in the past month, and they've randomly selected 500 people to jump into a test server and test out the Railjack Revisited update. So all of the information regarding the Railjack Revisited update is public information. There is a dev workshop with the patch notes which you can go ahead and read, and it'll basically tell you everything that is in this version of Warframe that I'm playing right now. So I thought that I would make a video sort of showing you guys gameplay of the Railjack Revisited update so you can judge for yourself whether or not the changes seem good or if they seem bad. So I'll go over the general changes first, and then we'll talk a little bit more about like specific changes like avionics changes and stuff like that. So reading directly from the patch notes here, they doubled the Railjack's innate loot pickup, so the vacuum range. They're changing the pacing and general feel of all Railjack piloting and movement to be less reliant on the optimal strategy of single strafe boost and then repeat. So to do that, they doubled the Railjack's base speed, they lowered the boost speed by 75%, which seems counterproductive. They increased the boost speed cost of dodge, and they also increased the boost drain from 8 to 15. They made scale a factor in damage reduction and bonuses. This means that Arcwings and their weapons will do more damage to ships while also taking less damage from them. They fixed inconsistencies with the sensitivities of emplacement positions, so side turrets and how much the pilot turns. They doubled Revelite crafting yield from 50 to 100, and they tripled the values of titanium and asteroid resource drops. That last one in its own is so game changing that it makes me want to play Railjack on the live version whenever this update comes out. Now, that's not to say that Railjack is going to be the next best big game mode within Warframe, but just reading that tripling the values of titanium and asteroid resource drops, that makes me want to play it a little bit more, because one of my biggest issues with the Railjack update was the amount of titanium that you had to invest to repair like one weapon, right? So 12,000 titanium, and people argued with me and they said, well, to get titanium, all you have to do is play the free roam mission and then float around and, you know, shoot rocks to get a ton of titanium. If that's what you want to do, by all means, but I don't find that that's super fun gameplay, so I'm not going to do that, and I think the majority of people aren't going to want to do that. But yeah, the fact that you're getting more titanium now from just casually playing is epic. I like that. They've also changed a little bit of the ship combat. So changed all health, shield, and armor to use the new 10.0 versions introduced in Warframe Revised. Half the health and armor of all Grineer fighters. Randomize the amount of fighters required to be killed during the extermination portion of the skirmish missions, so it's not always the same. So it used to be always a flat 90 if you were playing in the Veil, for example. They decreased the amount of time between landing the killing shot to the enemy explosion on fighters, 0.1 to 1 second down from 1 to 3 seconds. The effect of this will be not only a quicker pace, but also a quicker time to spawn any drops, which is nice. It just speeds it up. And they decreased Railjack shield recharge delay from 5 to 3 seconds. Railjack weapon heat buildup changes, so they did a bunch of balance changes to how fast weapons overheat, and then also how quickly they cool down. So you'll notice all of that whenever we jump into a mission. They've done a bunch of other changes as well. I'm not going to go through everything in the patch notes here. Those are, in my opinion, the most notable changes, and whenever we jump in, of course, I'll talk about, you know, other things that they've changed too. So the one big thing that we have to look at straight away, though, and I think this is going to be a game changer for a lot of people as well, is the avionics menu. Now, the avionics prior to this test build were ridiculous because there was like 3 versions of every single avionic, right? So you could get a bulkhead in a mission, but then you might not get the best version of bulkhead, right? There was a low tier bulkhead, a mid tier bulkhead, and then there was the top tier bulkhead. Now it's just like one mod, right? So, you know, like in casual gameplay in the regular version of Warframe, there is Vitality, and then there is Umbral Vitality, or there is Continuity, and then there is Prime Continuity, and that's all well and good. But as Railjack is a new system, it was too confusing to have multiple of the same from the get-go, at least in my opinion. At least now we have like a good baseline. Like Bulkhead is your health mod, and it's going to increase your health value by whatever the percent may be, so 506%. And then if you were to get like maybe an upgraded version of that by doing a more difficult Railjack mission that they can implement in the future, well then that'll make sense, right? That's a streamlined system, at least in my opinion. There's a lot of contention around this change in particular. I, for one, think it's good that they've streamlined and simplified just, you know, avionics or Railjack modding, basically. But some people think that it's an issue simply because we're running out of avionics capacity more frequently now because, you know, everybody's able to throw on the best stuff, right? You're able to throw on the best bulkhead, or you're able to throw on the best conic nozzle, and then there's some slots that are left, you know, unfilled, right? So I don't know how I feel about that. I feel like the mods that I have on my Railjack at the minute are enough to get through all of the missions that are available. Like, the Railjack missions now are a cakewalk. You don't feel super overpowered, but you literally cannot die, right? It's just the pacing of it, which still needs a little bit more fine-tuning, in my opinion. It's definitely a big improvement compared to the live version, don't get me wrong, but, you know, a little bit more can be done to speed up the gameplay of Railjack and, you know, just make things more enjoyable, I guess. I don't think that the avionics change is a big deal necessarily. I get people's concerns whenever it comes to build diversity, because a lot of the Railjack builds are going to look the same. Like, you increase health, you increase damage, you increase speed, you increase crit. But like, part of me feels that's what happens whenever you give the player like just so many straight upgrades, right? So you've got a health upgrade, then you have a damage increase, then you've got like, you know, another damage increase, and then you have more energy, you've got more speed, whatever. There's not a lot of variety there. Like, it's not like whenever you're building a Warframe where you can throw on continuity and then you can throw on narrow-minded to increase the duration. There's no real need for that. I would say that there's not enough aspects for the player to upgrade, and that's why there is a lack of build diversity rather than, you know, just, oh, I don't have enough avionics capacity, right? So, I don't know. I definitely get the argument, 110%, but there's always going to be, like, the best things to throw on whenever it comes to Railjack. And even then, I don't really think that it matters if you have the best stuff on anyway, because of how easy Railjack is now. So yeah, that's enough rambling about the avionics. I overall think it's an improvement. I think it's more simple. People have concerns about build diversity and being able to fit, you know, or fill all of these slots and stuff like that. But explaining this to a newer player is going to be a lot more straightforward now, right? So, you know, you come in here, you press avionics, you type in the name of an avionic that you want to upgrade or something like that. So let's see, Drain. If we go ahead, can I scroll down? Oh, that's because I have to use this. I have to scroll down now. So you can come in here and you can upgrade, right? So let's upgrade countermeasures. I spend Dirac to do that, right? So, you know, it's just a lot more straightforward, in my opinion. And I think that's going to make that curve of getting into Railjack a lot less steep. So, yeah. But yeah, here's what I'm running. I've got a Sigma shield array. I could build other stuff if I really wanted to. Let's see. Zekti. Rush repair drone, I got 10. Just go ahead, throw that on. Viter engines, Mark III. Viter reactor, because that's one of the best reactors. Zekti Karkanox, Zekti Votar, those are the ones that I usually run. Maladi Mark III, that's the one that I usually run. This is all just stuff that I use on live, apart from that Zekti shield array. I usually use the Sigma, because I just, you know, didn't have the resources to build a different shield array. So yeah, we'll jump into Railjack with this setup right here. Gotta make sure that all the stuff is filled up. And then here are my intrinsics as well. Intrinsic gain has been increased as well. So it's easier to get intrinsics. You're getting about 1 intrinsic per minute in the Veil, I would say. So maybe between 6 and 10 per one Veil mission. It depends which one you do, and it obviously depends, you know, how much repairing and stuff you've got to do around your ship, because you don't do a lot of repairing anymore, but whenever you do repair, then you get more XP from a single repair. I'm just going to go ahead and run Wisp, because Wisp is usually who I run in Railjack with this build right here. Go ahead, fashion frame it up like so. Actually, I'm going to swap out to the Crunin Prime, because that makes a little bit more sense to me. And now we just go ahead and play a mission. I think I'm going the wrong way. There you go. Nice. So we jump in here. Veil Proxima. The one that people normally run is GM Point. So I guess we're going to jump in and do that. GM Point is the one that people run because that's where you can get your Vita Reactor. There hasn't been anything added, so to speak, to Railjack to make it more engaging. This update is like a step in the right direction when it comes to making just the casual base feeling or the base gameplay of Railjack feel that a little bit more enjoyable. So you can see from the get-go, we only have to kill 60 free fighters. We still have to kill 6 cruise ships, which isn't a big deal because cruise ships are rather easy to take down. But here's the speed increase. It's pretty nice, I'm not gonna lie. But boosting is It feels kind of jerky to me. It's not bad, but I think it could be better. I 110% think that it could be better. We melt these enemies now. Of course, I think everybody would like to feel a little bit more overpowered. But like, I think that the time to kill on these enemies is decent. You know what I mean? You're not killing them too fast. You're not killing them too quick. The only fear is like, whenever they start to add in new weapons or they start to add in new enemies or something along those lines, it's probably going to need another look, you know what I'm saying? So I don't think that this balance is going to exist in the game for long whenever they start to add more stuff in to Railjack. If they do manage to pull it off, I'll be surprised, but you know, I think it's in a good spot as it is right now, and this is what they should be shooting for whenever it comes to, you know, just time to kill in general. But aside from that, if I go ahead and I kill these last 2 fighters that I've got around me, this guy's taking a little bit of damage. If I kill these last 2 guys, this guy's below me, and then get more of the spawn in, I'll show you what I normally do whenever it comes to Railjack missions, right? So what I normally like to do is spam a bunch of void holes, which is my third ability, down the bottom right hand corner. So that's going to consume a certain amount of flux energy. So here's a big group of enemies here. So what I'll do is I'll sort of like dash into these enemies. Of course, because the boost is shit now, it's not as easy for me to do, but I'll dash into these enemies. I'll fly towards the nearest structure, and then I will put down maybe 2 or 3 void holes, and that's going to suck all these enemies in and kill them. If it doesn't kill them, then what will happen is I'll be able to use my alt fire, which is my Malata Mark III, and then that's going to kill them, right? And that's how I rack up kills rather quickly within Railjack to get missions done fast, right? So we can do the same over here. There's a bunch of enemies, shoot down a void hole or 3, and then they're going to get sucked in, and then I can just, you know, lay into them. Of course, you can throw other abilities into the mix, like particle ram and whatnot, but I don't find that it's necessarily necessary. And because I don't find it necessary, that's going to free up slots in my avionics to, you know, throw on other stuff, which is just going to make the survivability and overall flow of my Railjack combat feel a lot better. You can destroy the engines on the back of these cruise ships and make them completely immobile now. So then you and your squad can set up, you know, you shooting yourself into the cruise ships a lot easier. I set up my my little moats there, because whenever you go into Arcwing with Wisp moats, then you still keep the buffs, right? So I can just shoot myself on in here. I'll skip the cutscene. Never mind, it didn't allow me to. I go into my operator, dash, 1, 2, free. If I can get to the console. Hack it. Easy peasy. And then usually I would have the Corinthon, but I don't have the Corinthon, so I just have to kill it with my Tomb Finger, which is a little bit slower. But if I had my Corinthon, that would one-shot it, and then just go ahead, dash out, skip it, go into my Omni, and then TP back into my ship if needs be. Or I can use the Omni after I shoot the core, and then TP back into my ship even faster. It just sort of depends on the role that I'm playing. Sometimes, you know, I'll be the guy that's just in the Archwing, going around destroying the cruise ships and whatnot. And then, you know, doing that for the entire mission or whatever. The only other thing that I can really sort of demonstrate here is the Archwing combat. So again, I'm going to put down my Wisp stuff. I would say that you still need to run a Misha. You can't get away with using a Litron or Itzel. Of course, they are going to be doing a pass whenever it comes to the Archwings. They're going to make the modular Archwings and whatnot, but check this out. Epilepsy, whenever you're spamming E on the ship here, the Archwing DPS and survivability still isn't in a good spot. You still need to use a Misha to, you know, survive with your one. I need to constantly keep that up to stay alive. You can use my other abilities here as well. Just spam all of them to slow the enemies down. The enemies are dying, you know, I guess it's okay the amount of damage that they're taking. Keep in mind, I've got a rate of fire increase because of my Wisp buff. Whenever that runs out, I'm not going to be dealing as much damage, and the time to kill is going to be significantly lower, right? So that runs out in about 8 seconds, so we'll just wait for that, and you'll see the actual true time to kill or DPS off it, I guess you could say. So this guy's taking a little bit more damage. And here we got our regular fire rate now. So Archwing combat is still pretty duty. I think that they should buff it up just a little bit more. It's not horrible in any sense of the imagination. It's just not where I think it should be for how decked out my my Archwing and stuff is, you know? My arc guns and whatnot. So I don't know. It's alright, but it's definitely not great. And it's just faster to use your Railjack. Of course, you've got the tripled titanium and asteroid gain as well, which if I come across some, you'll be able to see that I get a ton. The thing is, I also have a booster on, so I get more than normal, realistically. So it's a good change, but my experience isn't going to be reflective of everybody else's experience. You can also see like the amount of pickups and stuff that we're getting. We're getting a decent amount. So I don't know. Overall, you should get a good idea of the pacing and whatnot of Railjack and how like extremely tanky my Railjack is. Like I can just sort of sit here and take a ton of damage over and over and over again, and nothing's happening, right? So crazy powerful. I don't know. Like I have to be sitting there for a while to take a considerable amount of damage to even be worried about having to go around and extinguish fires or patching up the catastrophic failure or whatever, you know what I mean? And even then, like there's no sense of urgency anymore because you can only have one fire on at a time. You can only have one catastrophic failure imminent at a time, and it lasts for an entire minute, right? So that entire minute is more than enough to like get out of the cruise ship that you're in and then go repair your Railjack or get out of the structure that you're in, you know, like whenever you have to destroy the radiators or whatever. So, you know, these bubbles still exist, but because your weapons don't overheat as much anymore, not that big of a problem. I still think that they could fine-tune the weapons a little bit. Like whenever I'm laying into this cruise ship here, my weapons definitely do come closer to overheating, and whenever there's a lot going on the screen, like whenever there's more enemies flying at me at once, I would like to be able to hold down left click for much longer, especially on other weapons. Like these weapons are the outlier, you know, these weapons that I'm using right now, these ones are pretty forgiving whenever it comes to holding down left click and just firing into the back of a ship or whatever, but the other ones, like the Cryophon, I think they're called, the shotgun ones, those ones are not great. They're still in a bad spot. I don't recommend using them that much. We'll use the laser guns that I have on here. These here are really nice as well. I like these a lot. Just pop a bubble or whatever, or just lay into ships that are sort of floating around or whatever. I've already killed all the fighters, and it's only been, well, it's been 10 minutes, but that's because I'm dicking around and showing you guys a bunch of stuff. But yeah, I gotta go into the ships now and just kill some of the Grenier enemies to show you how easy they are to kill. Some people were pretty annoyed at this as well. I say pretty annoyed, but I don't know. The Grenier enemies have always been easy to kill for me. Just mod your weapons right. That's all that it comes down to, really. Use viral, crit, etc. Use the Tim Finger. I don't know. Just mod your weapons right, Forehead. Watch a guide. Pretty easy to kill. Maybe even easier to kill. Those guys are level 80. Keep that in mind. But like, if you're using your Warframe abilities right, even if it's the live builds, you're gonna be killing enemies rather quickly. So, you know, I need to actually destroy this thing to progress the mission. So let's take a look at the amount of stuff that we've got as well whenever we get back into the Railjack, which I just used the Omni to do. So you can see that I've got a decent amount of stuff. So that must be one drop of titanium that I got there, 122 per one drop, and then I've got like all of the avionics that was dropped as well. So 122 for one drop from, I'm assuming, an enemy. And that's pretty decent. And of course, if you were to do a set of missions that drop titanium more frequently, or you went around and God forbid you did shoot those little asteroids or whatever, you would probably get a lot more titanium. So titanium farming and asteroid farming is going to be a problem of the past. The big glaring issue that myself and Bruzeim actually feel is they've now got the fusion system, which we have for Kuva weapons, and they've put that in the wreckage, right? So if you have a weapon and you want to upgrade it because you have a weapon that is similar, right? So let's say I had a Mark III Karkanox that had a boost of 50%, and I had another Mark III Karkanox. Doesn't matter what the boost is on that one. I can take that other Mark III Karkanox that I have and then use that and infuse that into my already existing one to get my Karkanox up to 60%. The thing is, though, you've got to craft that other Karkanox to fuse it into your already existing one, right? So you essentially have to craft two of them to get an increase of 10% on your already existing one, right? So not the best system. People have recommended like making the cost to craft it maybe like 50%, 20%, 30% of the original cost if you just want the fuse. So I don't know. I think that that's a fair way of balancing it, or they could just make it where you don't have to, you know, craft it in the first place. I think that would be just as good because, you know, you don't have to craft your Kuva weapons to fuse it. You just get the Kuva weapon and then you can fuse it immediately. So I don't know. I think that they also have to do away with the wreckage system as well. Like, being limited to holding 30 wreckage at a time is a total buzzkill for this game mode, especially if you do want to farm something specific. It really ruins that sense of like seamlessness that they're going for whenever you've got to, like, you know, come out of the missions that you're doing to get rid of wreckage instead of just being able to go ham on farming the missions to get the thing that you want. I don't know why the wreckage system exists. Like, it might be because there's random stat rules. I would say that if having that wreckage system is because of those random stat rules, I would just get rid of the random stat rules and then find a better way of rewarding players, I guess, instead of having those random stat rules. Because the random stat rules, in my opinion, they're not even that rewarding, you know? Like, the difference that you're going to notice in your gameplay having a 50% compared to 60% is probably very minimal. You know, it's minimalistic upgrades, and I didn't destroy that core in that ship. That's something that I keep on forgetting to do. It's very minimalistic upgrades, and it's a lot to ask for minimalistic upgrades, you know what I mean? So the amount of time they have to invest to farm up these parts, and then if you want to upgrade, the amount of time you have to invest into farming the resource and stuff like that. Just not a very intuitive system, and not one that respects the player's time that well. Of course, it's a lot better now compared to the live build, and that's what this entire update is all about, is it better than the live builds? And the answer is an overwhelming yes, but that doesn't solve all of the issues that Railjack has, right? There's still a lot of issues that this game mode has, such as lack of mission diversity, right? The game mode is essentially the same throughout every single planet, right? There's not a lot that's changed up. The game mode feels very, very, very easy now, right? Like, it's just, I don't know, it could be far better if they put a little bit more meat on the bones of Railjack. I appreciate the fact that they have to, you know, improve it first, but I'm gonna be that asshole that says that a lot of these changes should have just been in, you know, Railjack to begin with, because DE have a lot of experience developing this game. They've collected a lot of feedback over the years, so Vita Reactor, bro! Nice, great. That's probably gonna be better than the one that I have on live, but the progress from this doesn't carry over. We got 1,200 bonus titanium from that, which is a nice number. If you get that, like, you know, you play 15 missions, you get that bonus, you can craft one weapon. 15 missions, like, if you're not dicking around like I was, it's gonna take you about 6 minutes, you know? So you play for an hour or something, you'll be able to craft, you know, a weapon or something like that, whatever you want to craft. So, yeah. I think that the changes that they have in here are really good. I think that they should have been in base Railjack, you know what I mean? I still think that they have ways to go, such as increasing the amount of damage you can deal in Arcwing, increasing your survivability in Arcwing. They need to introduce more varied game modes, you know, like just, I don't know, make boss battles or something like that, where there's a big ship and you have to destroy like weak points on the big ship, and then you have to board it and then kill a captain who is like similar to a Kuva Lich in some way or something like that. There's a lot of things that they can do with Railjack. The idea of it is great. They just need to be better at their execution, right? Like, there's a lot of stuff that I think they could change within Railjack, such as maybe the UI within the dry dock whenever it comes to upgrading your avionics. They could streamline that so much. They could make it so that the whole crafting your what's it called? The name escapes me right now. The Revelite, I think it's called. Yeah, the Revelite for your Omni this here. They can make it so that this system, just crafting all of the stuff while you're in your Railjack, they could streamline this, right? Because right now you've got 4 separate consoles and you have to go up to these consoles individually to get one craft going. Why not just make it so that all 4 of those consoles are connected and they've got 4 charges, right? So instead of having to go from console 1 to console 2 to console 3 to console 4, make it so they're all connected and they all share the same charges. So if someone is on console 1 uses 1 charge, someone's on console 2 and uses 2 charges, then all of these consoles will have 1 charge left until it refills up. You know, I think that that would be a far better system. Like I said, avionics UI, this could be improved. I don't know, these avionics right here, these are not as memorable whenever it comes to the mods that are in Warframe, right? So if you say Vitality, you immediately think of, if you're a visual learner, you think of the Excalibur that has the red glue around him. If you think of Redirection, you think of the Excalibur that has the blue glue around him. If you think of Continuity, you think of the Trinity that is casting her her first ability. You know, like, those visual representations do the modding system justice, because it's very complex, right? Like, they talk a lot in interviews about how they get to the modding screen, and that's what makes players stop playing the game, because they feel like they're too dumb to play the game because math and numbers are involved and stuff like that. Well, I don't think that this avionics UI does that any justice. I think that it could definitely be improved, and I think that people are going to feel dumb whenever they get to this page as well. That being said, if you get to this point, you're probably already invested enough in the game to put in the time to learn these menus and stuff like that. But that doesn't mean that they can't be improved, and that doesn't mean that this can't be a menu for everybody eventually. Same goes for equipping your weapons and stuff, while it's cool that we do this cool panning thing, I don't know, I just think that there's maybe a better way to demonstrate the weapons that you're equipping, because I don't know, like I look for these weapons and I don't see much change in the visual representation of this. I don't know, it's just not super visually appealing, and I'm paying more attention to all these numbers on the right more than I am the actual look of the weapons. So I would say in the visual department, this UI is pretty garbage in terms of teaching the player what it's all about. Let's see what I got in this fighter reactor. Oh wow, it is actually an increase, but it's a very, well, in terms of flux capacity it's massive, but in terms of avionics capacity it's 1. So yeah, I've already wrote a forum post about my feedback for Railjack Revisited. Hopefully they listen. Hopefully they don't just ship this update how it is right now, and they actually implement some of the changes that myself and many others have spoke about before pushing this to the live version of the game. Like if they did that, that would really shut people up that say, oh, DE don't listen, because that would be like a clear case in point. Oh, DE actually did listen. That would be nice to see. But yeah, I think overall the changes right now are good. They need to put more meat in the bones of Railjack to make it enjoyable, and it's definitely a step in the right direction. It's hard to deny that. I still think that a lot of these changes should have just been in Railjack from the get-go. I don't think that DE are, you know, incapable of figuring out that players don't necessarily want to spend hours farming rocks to get titanium to craft wreckage. I don't think that, you know, the wreckage capacity is something that players want either. I don't know. There's just a lot of oversights, I'll call them, within Railjack that sort of need to be tied up, in my opinion, to make this a more intuitive and fun, engaging game mode, I guess you could say. So that's my thoughts. I'm sure there's a lot more that I've probably missed, but hopefully this video, you know, helped you out whenever it came to understanding all the changes and sort of gave you a look into what Railjack is going to be like in the future, implying they go through all these changes, which I'm sure they will. But yeah, thank you guys for watching this video. If you liked it, go ahead, hit like. If you want to see more Warframe content from me, hit subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.